You're listening to the NAMAD Sessions by Mia, live from the NAMAD Annual Membership Meeting 2025. Hey, I'm Paul J. Daly. This is NAMAD Sessions by Mia. I'm here today with Frank Knox, COO of Auto Acquire, making waves. A lot of people talking about it, Frank, but this is kind of like the new digs for you now.
It is. It's new, but look, AI, I think right now is new for everybody.
Listen, I'm not going to let you talk about AI within the first 60 seconds of this podcast, okay?
That's fair.
Cutting you off.
That's fair.
No, we're going to get to AI, but first, I want people to know a little bit of your history, how you ended up in this seat as COO of Auto Acquire, because you've been around the industry, everybody knows you, very familiar face. So tell us, a little bit of your journey in automotive, and then why you're doing what you're doing now.
Yeah, my journey with automotive started, back in 2003 at CarMax. Spent, 17 and a half years.
Started in the same year in automotive.
Yeah, there you go. See, that's why we connect like we do. So I started there, and really it was not something I had anticipated doing.
CarMax is what?
CarMax as a buyer.
Okay.
I was a buyer. Well, I started as a buyer and trainee.
Yep.
And as everyone does when they come into CarMax. And it was all about just learning all the ins and outs of cars and how are we going to go out and appraise cars and do it at scale. Mm-hmm. And I ended up working my way up, senior buyer, purchasing manager, and then went on to manage, the Midwest territory for purchases at the auctions. And so at that point, I want to say we were buying about 1,400 to 1,500 cars a week in the Midwest. So that was my gig. And then after that, went back in the stores for a stint. And then from there, I ended up rolling out Max Offer, believe it or not, for CarMax. So it had started, and I stepped into the role to take it and be able to scale it nationwide. Shortly after taking on that role, I got recruited by a private equity group, independent dealer in the Southeast. Went there, took that job as the director of purchasing, where again, we're talking about really managing purchasing at scale, because those 5 stores that I was responsible for sold about 3,500 cars a month. And so my team had to go out and figure out how are we going to acquire about 1,000 cars a week in some cases.
Yes.
Even on a low week, we were still trying to acquire 500 cars a week on a low week. Whew. So, you're talking about trying to do this at scale, and, ultimately off-lease only closed the doors. Very sad day. And I ended up landing with Justin Campbell with Unique Auto and started doing some projects of going out, and I knew what my pain points were as the used car director, as a purchasing manager, that the toughest thing to do was go out and find inventory. And so because that was so tough, I decided, what can I do to help dealers to maybe ease that pain a little bit?
Yeah, you lived it.
And started doing that with Unique Auto. And that team that I built is still in existence. They're still out there. They're still sourcing cars for dealers, but they're doing it all at the auction, right? And that's a challenge right now. We know it's a challenge, but we know it's a bit of a necessary evil. Everyone's going to have to go to auction and still source cars. But I landed with Unique, and that told me something different. Like, we can buy cars at auction, but there's got to be a better way to go out and get cars from the consumer. And
what time frame was this? Because when was this?
So this was in 2021.
Yep.
I went to off-lease only. 2023, the doors were closing.
Yes.
And I was moving to Unique Auto,
which was a big surprise. Okay, that makes sense, because a lot of the momentum in the last several years, we'll call it the last 4 years, right? Since the pandemic, was how do we buy cars from other people than the auction?
That's right.
And okay, so just tracking.
So and so staying with that. So one of the things, like, I knew at off-lease only that it was so hard to buy cars at the auction during the pandemic. So what could I do about it? We started building some of these systems internally to go and buy cars from the consumer. So I took that and said, okay, well, how do we do something different with either Unique, or there's something out there? And as fate would have it, is I'm a big believer in God and Jesus Christ, and as my faith would take me on a journey, that Anthony Montero, the CEO, was knocking at the door and saying, hey, I have this solution we would love for you and Todd Caputo. A lot of people know Todd.
They do. Once they've met him, they never forget him.
That's right.
Right. You only have to meet Todd once.
That's right. And so we decided, at that time, Anthony was looking for strategic advisors, and that was the role that I stepped into, was to say, okay, all right, I want to know more about this ecosystem that you're building that's going to revolutionize things and make things so much easier for the dealer, because I've sat in that seat, I've seen it, I've felt it, and it's not a good feeling to have to go to the auction. It's not a good feeling, not just to have to go to the auction, but a terrible feeling when you know you don't have the inventory to sustain the sales that you have.
All right, so you have thoroughly earned your way back to being able to talk about AI. You gave us a lot of, you got to give us a lot of meat there.
I gave you some backstory.
You did, which is fantastic, and I think AI just comes up in every conversation, right? And people are constantly developing how to leverage AI in all types of areas of their lives. Now we have consumers figuring out how to leverage AI in their regular lives because of tools like ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude. How is AI transforming this area of the auto industry when we're talking about buying cars from individuals, making sure that your inventory is replenished depending on your sales level? Give us the overview, because you kind of have a front row seat in the most advanced side of what's happening right now.
Yeah, so, and I think it's important to understand that the biggest players out there, CarMax, Carvana, even Echo Park to some extent.
Yeah, they're on a tear right now.
Some companies that aren't even around anymore were already using AI to leverage their offers that they were putting out there, because they knew, look, in order for me to be able to buy as many pieces of inventory as I can, I have to be able to cast a very wide net, and I've got to be able to automate my offers, and I have to have that machine learning running in the background that's constantly evaluating and changing those offers so that they're real time. So that's a fundamental change that's happened, and it's happened, and I'd love to say it happened overnight, but this has been happening for years, well before even the pandemic. Look, I went to off lease only right after the pandemic, and CarMax was already using these philosophies, this strategy already. So it's been around. And so now I think it's front and center, because now you take acquisitions and you take AI and you put those two things together, and people are perking up and saying, okay, how do I do more with less? And so when you think about the ecosystem of buying, that ecosystem is very complex, and quite frankly, it at times it gives me a headache, right? Because you have to think about the transportation, you have to think about the inspections, you have to think about the offers that are going out there, you have to think about how do I follow up, and this is all the places that AI is able to step in and help the customer, the dealer, with, all right, how do you put offers at scale? Well, we have to train this for your specific dealership. What works for your dealership is not going to work for every dealership. So we have our own algorithm that you're able to adjust the dials. Okay? So you're going to adjust the offers to what you want those offers to look like, which is fantastic. The other part of that is you want to be able to not only understand what that customer in front of you has to put the offer on, you also want to be able to understand what else do they have that the other big players, the competitors, don't know about.
Like what? Give me an example. What do you mean, what else they have?
So with a name, an email, phone number.
Oh, I got it.
I can dive in and I can see what that customer owns.
All of it. The garage.
All of their cars. I can see their entire garage and be able to put an offer on all of those units. So now you're talking about a Carvana experience, because what Carvana does is I'm going to throw as many offers out there as I possibly can.
Yes.
And I'm going to see which customers say, yep, I'm interested in selling, and then I'll start my follow-up. Even that follow-up can be done through automation and through AI, right? So that's a big component of it. But finally, you get to this place where, all right, if I can use AI to help me with my offers, if I can use AI to help me understand what else the customer owns, well, are there any things that I can't use AI for? And you go through that entire ecosystem, the transportation, you can use AI to help you with that. You can use AI to help you with the inspection process, the ID validation. So all of these components all we've done is we've taken every one of those pain points, we've pulled them into one platform and said, okay, Mr. Dealer, here is your Carvana, CarMax in a box.
Now you can compete.
That you can compete.
Wow, that's amazing. Now, we only have a minute or two left, but I do want to ask the question that a lot of people is on their mind. So you have this platform, you're promoting all of the use of all this AI tech. Now the dealers can be competitive with the Carvanas and the CarMaxes. What is the importance of people in this process? Because, right, like there's a lot of talk about AI replacing this and doing a good job replacing this or that. What do you see as the role of people?
So people are critical in all of this, because what this does, this platform, and any AI tool for that matter, what it does is it takes really good people and it makes those people have a superpower. And so when you think about the ability to put as many offers out there, have a system that's following up, what happens is I've taken this large funnel and I've made it into this smaller funnel where, all right, now the human involvement comes in at. Now you as that buyer, purchasing manager, you start making that connection with that customer. Mm-hmm. You get that customer excited to sell that car. Mm-hmm. The human element, you can do all the AI inspections that you want. And I've seen them all. All those tools that take all the photos.
Yep.
You know what that tool can't do? It can't drive the car. It can't test for four-wheel drive. It can't feel the quality or touch and see exactly the quality of the paint. It can't smell the car. Although there's some that are out there that are claiming that, hey,
oh, really?
We have some sensors that can determine.
Scent-o-vision, smell-o-vision, okay.
It can determine a different sort of smell.
I can see that.
But you still, the point being is that final inspection, you still need that buyer, that used car manager involved to make sure that nothing in the system went rogue. Also, you still need that very in tune, very intelligent used car manager that is sitting there and tweaking those dials just a little bit, because they understand that, hey, if I'm the best end user for this vehicle, I'm going to turn my dial up and I'm going to go hard after that Ford Explorer because I'm a Ford dealer and I sell them better than anybody else. But you know what I don't sell well? I don't sell Ram pickup trucks that are quad cabs. So I'm going to get really granular and turn my dial down.
Yeah.
So the human involvement in this is critical to making it all work. It has to be.
Well, Frank, listen, I'm excited to watch this roll out because I think a lot of used car dealers across the country are always like, how am I supposed to compete with CarMax or Carvana? You're helping giving dealers a way to do that. Thanks for sharing your insight. Thanks for talking a little bit of professional wrestling with me before this show. And I'm looking forward to seeing you out here on the floor again. Thanks for joining us on NAMAD Sessions by Mia.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to this NAMAD session brought to you by Mia. At More Than Cars, we're obsessed with uniting people around one big idea, that thriving people are the only path to a thriving and profitable industry. And if that resonates with you, head over to morethancars.com to join our email list and check out our full list of podcasts and programming.